If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
At Horse Chats today, we've got Jennifer Kotylo here again today. Now, Jennifer, remember, is a movement body awareness specialist for equestrians. If you haven't listened to one of her chats, go back, listen to 742, because that'll 0742, because that'll give you a good insight on what she does. But we're actually going to talk to her about a book that she's written, because she's an author as well. So just hang on tight. We'll talk to Jennifer about this book. But before we do that, I'd just like to remind you about International Horse College. And International Horse College supports safe methods of educating riders, handlers and trainers about horse welfare. If safety and horse welfare are important to you, then have a look at the flexible course options at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352. Now, Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm doing great here in Chicago. How about you?
Yeah, very well. We're having lovely weather. We've just had a lot of rain. Everything's really green. So, you know,
Oh, good.
I just love living in Queensland. I just think it's the best place in the world. So I'll always promote it. I know everyone else gets on. You're probably going to say, no, Chicago's far better than Queensland. But we are where we are.
I head down to Australia right about now. No problem.
Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah, Jennifer, this book, My Best Friend Betsy, okay? Tell me a little bit about, I've read the book and it's lovely. It is absolutely a lovely children's book. So if you're thinking about a Christmas gift, what to get for a child for Christmas, we're going to go right through the book. And I think we can get that through jenniferkotylo.com, can't we? We'll give you the website and all the details at the end, but we can actually download it through that website. Or else just go to horsechats.com and search for Jennifer. I don't know about the Kotylo, Kotylo, or just go for Jennifer, Jennifer. That's pretty easy, just to get those details. But the book, I'd like to know a little bit about how you started. What gave you the idea to write this particular book?
Well, this book is actually about really one of the first horses I had as an adult. I spent a lot of time not riding as a younger adult, and then in my 30s, I got a horse, and he really it changed my life many, many, many ways. And I was at a barn, and there was another gal there whose name was Betsy, and she absolutely loved Rafferty. That was his horse's name. And she would come into the barn and she'd say, "Oh, hey, Rafferty, it's your best friend, Betsy." And I thought that sounded so cute. It was just cute. And after he passed away, I got thinking about him, and it was sort of an organic thing. I'm not really a children's writer at all. But I just wanted to sort of pay homage to this horse. And like I said, I always like that sound, my best friend Betsy. And frankly, it had a much better ring than my best friend Jennifer. So I kind of took that as the title, and then wrote this book about his life, parts of it, from his point of view and his best friend Betsy. And really, if you read it, the best friend is actually me. But like I said, my best friend Betsy just sounds a lot better than my best friend Jennifer. So Betsy it is.
Now, the illustrations, Lindy Swan, did you already know her? Did you source her? Because they sort of the combination of the two together.
It's really kind of a funny story. Well before I did this, I have a couple of DVDs that I did, and Lindy's dad was the videographer. So he was the one that shot all the videos. He edited all the videos. The whole thing. So I'd known her dad for a long time, and I would run into Lindy here and there. And she was in Baltimore at the time, going to art school. And I would, walk into the guy's name was Chuck Swan. I would walk into his house where his studio was, and he'd go, "Hey, look at this thing Lindy did. Hey, look at this thing Lindy did." I was like, "Holy cow, this is amazing!" And so she was home from school on a break, and I asked her about it, and I said, "I've kind of written this, and this is sort of what I'm, thinking about. Here's some pictures of Rafferty." And she'd been over to the farm, so she knew the farm. And I said, "Here's some pictures of me as a younger girl." And she just went on her way. And I mean, the talent she has to me is just remarkable. She captured everything I said perfectly. I'm not sure there was one. They're all they're all watercolors. I don't think there was one that I said, "Oh no, we can't do this. We need to change this." Not one. She was just really, really remarkable and talented. And now what she's doing is mural art, still in Baltimore. So she has her own company, and they do murals. So that was how I found Wendy, just a daughter of somebody I knew. And I was really lucky because she's just really amazing.
Yep, yep. She's certainly done a great job. But you've done a great job as well. Now, we've got these reflections, okay? Because to me, this book is ideal for someone who is thinking about getting a horse or has a horse but just wants, just to confirm that they're caring for the horse, because horses do take commitment. And I think that's an important message that you've got across in the book.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've been in horses or around horses my whole life. And I always tell people who are thinking about getting a horse, actually, I always tell them try to find one to lease first and see if you even want that much commitment, because they are a time commitment. They are a heart and soul commitment. They are, and when I say time, I don't mean just daily. I mean for many, many, many years. Making a commitment to something, and sometimes there's buying and selling, but it is a commitment, and it's also a monetary commitment. And I feel for people who really want to have a horse, but really don't have the financial means to do it well. And then I think both the horse and the person can get into trouble. And so I'm always very clear. There are always ways to have horses in your life, but sometimes owning them is not necessarily the thing to do. There are always other ways. But at least if you're me, if you go in all the way. So definitely a big commitment.
Yes. And I understand what you say too, because it is a financial commitment.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel for the people that don't have the finances. However, if you are really committed, a lot of the time, if you don't have a job, you have time, and there's lots of people who are happy to swap that time for help with their horse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can remember as a young kid, just wanting to be around horses, and I would just walk into a barn and go, "Hey, I'll muck stalls, I'll sweep the aisle, I'll do something just to be around them." So there's so many people like that, and I've also been really lucky in my life to find people who had plenty of money, but their jobs were taking too much time, and they needed help with their horses to care for them or ride them, and so the ability to lease them and be very committed, and there are always ways to fulfill your passion, for sure. Sure.
Yep, I agree. You talk about mucking out stalls and everything else, and I think you, me, and millions of other people all over the planet, because working around horses takes the time and the effort. And I think that's something that, by helping other people, you can learn that very easy, can't you, about just that whole time and effort that it takes to care for a horse.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's I got thinking about mucking stalls. I mean, it's going to sound weird. I actually like it. Would I want to do it 7 days a week my whole life? No, but there was a time that I was doing that. And when I've had horses at home, and obviously you do that, it's a great workout. Being around horses is a great physical workout. And, I'm all about movement and this, that, and the other. And if you're working at a farm and you have to turn horses out and bring them in, you can be walking a whole heck of a lot. If you're grooming, your arms are getting a good workout. If you're picking out feet, you're bending over and you're standing up. There's a lot of great movement that happens just in the care of horses, moving a wheelbarrow, the whole thing. It can be a really great physical challenge that, too, you've got to be willing to do and want to do and enjoy it at some level. Again, to me, mucking out stalls is almost a meditative kind of thing to me. You just kind of get into it. So anyway, but I'm a little crazy like that.
I agree, just to do with the health and the fitness, your own health and fitness. This is, we haven't even got into the horse yet, but your own health and fitness. A little while ago, I was at a coach educator conference. So a coach educator is someone who teaches other instructors. So we're at a coach educator conference in, just an airport motel because we're all coming from all over Australia. And one of the guys said, was taking over a shift. He said, "How will I know that people are there for this conference?" And he said, "It's easy. You get a whole lot of fit, older-looking, older ladies who most of the time are wearing jeans. That's them. Direct them in there." The fact that he's saying fit older ladies, I mean, we're older because we've had the experience and we're able to do it, but the fit looking, I just think that's a really good reflection about the lifestyle. But what about grooming? The grooming itself adds to the health of the horse as well, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. And I'll kind of go back to people. I mean, who doesn't like to go in when they may not like to get their hair cut, but who doesn't like to get a really good shampoo from somebody? It feels good. Horses, most part, there's some that are a little thin-skinned that don't like very much, but most of them just love it. And it's so beneficial for such a variety of reasons. I mean, it brings blood to the surface of their skin, so it energizes and their skin and their muscles. It just like polishing your car, a good buff, it will work up a great shine. But I think really the most beneficial part of grooming your horse is that it allows you to put your fingers and your eyes and just your hands over pretty much every square centimeter of your horse. So, is there a little place that's warm? Is there a little bump? Is there a little bit of, creeping crud or fungus starting? And can you nip those things in the bud before they turn into something, a lot more catastrophic? As you're picking your horse's feet out, do I see just maybe a tiny bit of thrush starting here or a crack or whatever it might be? If I'm currying in a certain place and my horse is usually really, a happy-go-lucky guy and I get an ear that, turns back or kind of a look and I'm like, are you a little sore here? So for me, that's a really important part of grooming is just a sort of a good physical assessment of what's going on your horse's body, along with, again, just getting the blood flow, getting a good shine, and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Look, I know that I certainly enjoy it. Just the massage, it's great. So the horses do enjoy it. And I think that's, if the horse is a bit sensitive, because sometimes they are, they're telling you they're sore in that area. So it's a great reflection. But the rest of it, if they're enjoying it, and I know that in your book, you talked about the horse pulling funny faces. So I think that was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would find a spot to curry, especially. He would arch his back up and twist his neck. And if a horse could say, "Oh," that would be the place. And it was also really funny because if I was grooming him loose in his stall and I moved on to another spot, he would reposition himself to go, oh no, honey, you are not done. You still need to be working right there. He was quite the clown with that kind of stuff. So
now, another thing that you've said, about, and this is about routine, I suppose, 4 o'clock time for dinner, more hay and sweet feed, but also the affection that Rafferty has for carrots. So, this brings out the personality, and not just Rafferty, there's people can use this and reflect on their own horse. Oh, my horse doesn't like carrots. My horse prefers this. Or, yeah, my horse loves carrots too. But, you're sort of bringing in the routine and the requirements and the normality of having a horse, as well as Rafferty's personality. So these good feeding practices, adding to the health of your horse.
absolutely. And, I did put it in there, but the supplements, a bran mash, and that's not in the book either, but if the temperature changes a lot, or you may give a bran mash or something to just kind of, keep all systems on go. Rafferty wasn't like this. The horse I have now, I say to people, he has a barometer in his body, and when the temperature changes a lot, or the barometric changes a lot, pressure changes a lot, he will get a little colicky. So we know if that's going to happen, that he gets a little bit of extra probiotics and then he's fine. But, you start to understand all the little nuances of what they like and what they don't like, what is helpful, what they don't like. Rafferty, there were certain grains he would eat, like a kind of a mixture, like a sweet feed mixture. He had such prehensile lips that he could pick out if there might be 5 different grains in there, he'd pick out the 4 he liked, and you'd come back the next morning, and the 5th one was still in the bottom of his feed bin, and you're like, oh my gosh. And people would, if I had him at a horse show or at a clinic, and somebody was feeding him, and he didn't finish the grain, they'd, oh my gosh, is he colicky? He's not eating. I'm like, no, he's just really picky about certain things. And you know what? And every horse does have their personality. And so to get to know them at that level, their spiritual level, their mental level, not just their physical level, to me is just makes horses so, so, so special.
Yeah. And thinking about the book, well, I've actually got the book in front of me at the moment, and the tack, because we've talked about the health of the horse, and that's important, but the tack's important. The making sure that it fits properly. So you've gone into detail about, what Betsy does when she gets Rafferty ready and how. And this is so important because it just gets children to reflect on what they do and how they fit, and how important it is to make sure that this fits properly.
Yes, absolutely. And, again, as a little kid, you don't think about this so much, but as you get a little older, a lot of kids, not only does the tack have to fit, but the tack has to be cleaned, and it has to be oiled, and it has to make sure that it is, safe. I mean, do you have a billet strap that is starting to, fray, that needs to be taken care of? Is the bit the right size? Does the bit fit your horse's palate? Is the saddle rocking back and forth? And that's why, it does take a village to really take care of a horse. So, there are people out there who are big experts, and there are so many different kinds of nose bands, and so many different kinds of saddle trees, and so many different flaps. And again, I found as I've gotten older, if I want my horse to perform at his best, or her best, that all these little details are so, so, so important. I can remember a saddle fitting that I had. I needed a new saddle. Rafferty had really blossomed into such an athlete. He had really built up a lot of muscles, and my old saddle just wasn't working. So I had a saddle fitter come out, and Rafferty was so funny. We'd put one on, and you'd look at it, and you go, hey, it looks like it fits. I'd get on. He's like, no. He literally wouldn't move. He'd move maybe a couple steps, but he would move like a pony. Then we take that off, we put the next one on. Again, it looked like it fit. Finally, we put one on, and he's like, yeah, Mom, this is the one. And he moved like $1 million. So super, super important. And there's certain things like I'll use bits as an example. Sort of I'll call it the rule of thumb is that a slightly thicker bit, I'll use a snaffle, a thick bit is a milder bit. So most people go, oh, I want to try a milder bit on my horse, I'm going to use a thicker one. But some horses have such a narrow, small mouth that a thicker bit is like having just a wad of, gunk in their mouth. They can't hardly even close their mouth. So maybe a thinner bit actually is the better bit for that horse. Some horses, drop nose bands, at least here in the United States, have sort of they're not quite as popular as they used to be. But some horses work better in a drop nose band than they do, in a flash or just a regular cavesson, or vice versa. Does your horse have kind of, I'll call them pointy cheekbones, and they need, some fleece or something underneath the noseband to make it more comfortable? If you think of, yourself, if you're going to go out and play tennis and, your shoes don't fit right, you're not going to play well. If they rub and give you a blister, that's not comfortable. You're not going to be the athlete that maybe you can be. I always think about girths. I mean, girths, the technology has come so far. I mean, in the old days, it was just lower and you tighten them up and they were tight. But think about, elastic ends now, or almost all elastic girths that make things so much tighter. And, I'll talk about using a belt for yourself. If you have a belt that is really cranked and tight and wrapped tight around your waist, that's just not comfortable. And again, you're not going to move the way you could if you had, a more elastic, breathable fabric. So, to me, the fit of tack and the comfort of your horse is paramount. Whether you're doing pleasure riding or you want to go to the Olympics, it's important for your horse to be comfortable.
Yeah. Just the reflections, just everything you say, you haven't gone into that much detail, but you've gone into enough detail in the book that a child is going to understand and reflect on it. And another thing that I really like is that every time you see Betsy, she's dressed appropriately. She's got jodhpurs, boots, she rides in a helmet, she's dressed the way that you would expect someone to be dressed when they ride, to be dressed when they work around the horses, correct footwear, correct.
Absolutely.
No shortcuts here. And I think just a good role model.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I cringe when I walk into a barn and I'll see, and it's usually young girls now. I mean, I would have been, I was pony club to death, so we're never going to do anything like that. But, with flip-flops on, and I go, oh my God, you shouldn't even have just tennis shoes on. You should have a hard-toed boot on. You should have a hard hat on. It is important. It's all those things, all those boots, hard hat, they're there for a reason. They're not there just to make you hot. And I mean, if you think about it, again, the fabrics now are so much more breathable and wearable, and the helmets are lighter, and you can be comfortable and still be safe. And, they're big animals, and, they don't mean to do something sometimes, but it happens. I was leading a horse not too long ago, and a fly or something bit it on the side I was on, and he just reacted and swung around to bite at the fly, and it whacked me right in the head. I didn't have a helmet on, but a helmet would have been helpful at the time because he really whomped on me. Again, he didn't mean to. I still kind of got after him. I'm like, you need to know where I am and you are, Bucky. But you just don't know. You don't know when, by mistake, a horse is going to just shift its weight or take a step and step on your foot. So having a boot on is a good thing.
Yeah. And of course, the horse has got to be well looked after and have the appropriate rugs and, bandages and boots and everything as well. But also too, where your horse lives. It shows where the stable is and about how the horse can see the comings and goings of what's happening within the stables, well, the stable area, but also that turnout time that the horse gets as well. And I think, I think that's all just a reflection on the way that horses like to live and the way that Rafferty lives.
Right. And, in the best of all worlds, I mean, I think a horse would like to pretty much be outside 24/7 with a run-in bed. The way we keep them and use them and ride them, that is not necessarily always, the most appropriate thing. So in a stable, for me, lots of fresh air, cooler as opposed to warmer, especially in the winter, open air, high ceilings, light. Always makes me really sad when I walk into a stable that's really dark and low ceilings, and kind of, claustrophobic. And then again, getting a proper time out. And then again, with my horses, because they were working year round, I mean, they oftentimes in the winter got body clipped. So I always said they needed the play clothes to go outside in. And they had their jammies in the wintertime for inside. But, if you have a horse that lives is a little more natural, a good winter coat is really all they need. Or maybe a rain sheet or something of that nature. But yeah, they just need to be well taken care of.
And you said before about it takes a village to look after a horse, but Rafferty also introduces, the instructor, the farrier, masseuse, acupuncture, all of the things that a horse can use or may need to use throughout its life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, again, I have been blessed to be able to work around horses that are athletes during their competitive lifetime. And so just like an athlete, they may need more than other horses. Although I have to say, again, I maybe not a massage every month, but maybe twice a year to say, hey, again, do we have something going on? I think good acupuncturists can, again, feel around a horse's body to know if something is quite right. So again, they may not need it as often as high performance athlete, but they need that care. And one thing that I just realized actually that I don't have in this book that should be in this book is good dental care. Horses I think they actually need a dentist. Veterinarians learn to do floats, and some of them are better at that than others. But some horses really end up with some pretty major teeth issues. And there are so many veterinarians now that are also, really exposed to dentistry, really go to dental school, and really are at the top of the class when that stuff is done. And so, if you have a horse, that all of a sudden is losing weight, well, maybe it's not that you're not feeding him well. Maybe he has a tooth problem. Maybe when you're riding and heck, I can't get my horse to yield to the right rein. Well, maybe he's got a big, sharp ridge in the right side of his mouth. And so until you get somebody who really knows what they're doing to look in there, you're not going to know, because their mouths are pretty long. And I always think it's really fun to have a horse dentist out and really look in there and see what's going on. It's really fascinating to me. And then, you're also right, farrier. I mean, boy, are you a lucky person if you have a horse with 4 really great, strong hooves that all they need is a good, a trim and a rasp. Wow. But again, so many horses, depending on what their services are being worked on or what they do for a living, may need a lot more help than that. And to find the right person to do all of that general farrier work, and heaven forbid that you have a problem, with a hot nail or laminitis or a crack or a whatever, you need people around you that really know what they're doing and that are really empathetic to the horse. And then as well as a trainer, a good trainer that to me needs to be empathetic with the horse and the rider. It has to work, at different strokes for different folks. Some people like an instructor that's a little more direct and some a little softer. But as long as they have the best interest of the horse in mind, that is always paramount. Absolutely paramount.
I think that's with all the professionals too, having the best interest of the horse so that if they can't help, they can refer you, like the instructor. This right brain problem, we've gone through a few exercises, but there seems to be something a bit more. I'd recommend that you get a dentist to have a look and see what the problem is here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Or someone who is a strong enough person that if the rider/owner wants to do something with the horse, let's say go to a horse show, and the trainer has enough gumption to say, you know what, I don't think that that's the right thing. And again, stand up for the horse. Stand up for the horse. So as much as I would hope that the owner does or the rider does, people look at that animal from with different eyes. And so it's important for that whole group to work as a team. And it takes a team to get there. It really does.
Yeah, yeah. I love Rafferty. He's so appreciative. He appreciates everything that he has. He looks around and he says, I've got a pretty good life. But, I think also too that children reading the book would be thinking about their horse and what can I do to make sure that my horse has got a pretty good life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rafferty did appreciate his life. I know he did. I appreciated him. I always said he was my horse with a Buddha nature. He was born sort of an old soul, and he could look around around wherever he was and sort of take it all in and go, yeah, I've got this. I've got this. This is good. Follow me. Be a little zen in your life, because at the time I wasn't zen. So he really taught me to kind of be a little more introspective and be cool with life, which was what I needed at the time. He was in my life at the right time, and I appreciated him, every day. And I appreciated even the struggles we had together, because through those struggles together, you end up growing. If everything is a smooth ride, you don't learn as much. And we certainly had our struggles with things, with health issues, with nerves for me, training issues, things that he didn't understand, maybe didn't want to do. We had to work through the best that we could be together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the book, while you and I are saying, well, this would be a great horse book, this would be great for kids, that are interested in horses and they can care for their horse and look after it. But I think it's just a good general book too. It's knowing how to be a best friend to your horse. It's also going to be just some life lessons in there so that kids can be a best friend to their horse. The horse appreciates, they can be a good friend to others. So I think it shouldn't just be recommended for children who are interested in horses, but I think just in the general kids' books as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know what? Yeah, Betsy could be your cat or your dog or your girlfriend or a person that lives next door or your mom, because all people, all things, all sentient beings want to be treated with respect. They want to be taken care of. They need to be taken care of. They need to be nurtured. They need to be nourished. And that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be fancy, but it needs to be correct, and it needs to be filled with love. And I loved this horse, and I literally would have done anything and did anything and everything for this horse. And in his horsey way, I know he loved me back. He did everything he could for me. And he taught me many, many lessons, sometimes in funny ways, sometimes in pretty abrupt ways. But again, he is a good metaphor for just being how friends, how loved ones should be to each other.
Look, I think if people are listening and would like to know more about this book, My Best Friend Betsy, again, those details will be on horsechats.com, but it's Jennifer Kotylo. Just go to Horsechats, search for Jennifer, and you'll find her website. And from her website, you go through to equestrians and then go through to the book. And I just think, Christmas, birthday, whatever, with Christmas coming up at the moment, it's a great book. And I think any time if people listen to this chat at any time, good book for kids. Great one. Okay, thanks, Jennifer, for coming on to chat to us about the book. I think, great life lessons and, based on horse care and horses, but great life lessons as well. So thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Glenys. I really appreciate your time.
No worries at all. We'll talk to you soon, Jennifer. I think you're coming back again later, but, I think you've come on a few times. You're tending to be a bit of a regular guest now, so we certainly appreciate your knowledge.
A regular. I love it. I love being a horse chat regular.
All right. We'll talk to you again next month. Thanks. Bye.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.